macOS Sequoia is an awesome new upgrade to macOS, and it comes with tons of new features: Apple Intelligence, native window tiling options, background replacement, and the ability to control your iPhone wirelessly directly from your Mac. But first, a word from our sponsor. 9to5Mac is sponsored by Mac Stadium, whose Orchid Desktop, a free Apple Silicon virtualization program, is the best modern Apple app development solution for DevOps and developers. Other Mac virtualization solutions either aren't built for Mac, they aren't easy to use, or they're not free to use. Sometimes, all three. With Orchid Desktop, there are no subscriptions, trial periods, or sneaky fees. Create and manage macOS virtual machines locally. Simply set your display resolution, OS, and launch your VM. And it includes support for macOS 15 Sequoia. Standardize your dev environment across your organization, and in just a few clicks, share custom images with your entire QA and dev teams. With Orchid Desktop, you'll never have to hear, "Well, it works on my machine," ever again. Click the link in the description to download Orchid Desktop today. Special thanks to Mac Stadium for sponsoring 9to5Mac. So first, we'll start off with the wallpaper for macOS Sequoia. And I know you're probably thinking, Jeff, wallpaper, really? But when you see what these wallpapers look like, I think you'll be convinced that they are a big part of this update. So the first one is just the regular Sequoia wallpaper. And as you can see, it is a dynamic wallpaper, so it does move when you have your screensaver enabled. And then when you stop your screensaver, it will come to a halt wherever it is. So you can see this is basically like an image of a Sequoia forest with the trees rising up. It's sort of abstract, but I think it looks good. And you have light and dark mode versions of this. There's also a dynamically changing version that will change throughout the day as it gets later. So I think this wallpaper looks great. It is the basic stock wallpaper, but there's also Sequoia Sunrise, and this wallpaper is more of a real world look, even though it's still obviously computer generated. But this too is a dynamic wallpaper that will move when you have your screen locked, and then when you wake it up, it will come to a halt right wherever it is. Now, my favorite new wallpaper though is the new classic Macintosh wallpaper based on macOS System 6 from way back in the day. So this wallpaper features a pixel-based bitmap design, and as you can see there, it looks great. There's even scan lines that they put in there to sort of reproduce a CRT display from the monitors that the Mac used back in the day as well. And of course, there's lots of references to 1984, and you'll find various other references to nostalgic Apple lore. And like I said, these are dynamic, so when you wake your device up, it pauses right wherever it is. So you get a basically new wallpaper every time you unlock your Mac, and it comes in a 6 colors flavor. There's also individual color flavors as well. One of my favorite is just the dark gray with the dark mode enabled. I think that looks great. It's a really cool look. But honestly, I just highly recommend just starting the screensaver and just letting it play all the way through and enjoying all the little attention to detail that Apple paid here, because there's some real gems that you'll find. And if you're an old school Macintosh user, you're definitely going to appreciate the touches that Apple put here. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the Apple Intelligence features that you get. So writing tools are a big part of the whole Apple Intelligence suite. And you can see here within the Notes app, or really any app where you can type or have text input, you can access these writing tools. So here you see a paragraph of text. I had a whole bunch of typos in there, so I chose to use the proofread tool, and it goes through there and fixes each and every mistake. It even will let you know why it fixed the mistakes, so it'll tell you if you spelled something wrong or if there's missing punctuation or whatever the case may be. All these are in here, and it does a really fine job of fixing and tidying up your prose. You can also jump back to the original just to compare the two if you want to on a fix by fix basis, so to speak. And then of course you can revert the whole thing if you want to, but in this case I just selected done because it actually did a really good job, as it tends to do with the proofreading. But there's more than just that. There's also read write. So this will actually just rewrite your entire selected text block, and it will try to rewrite it in such a way that it just flows even better. So you can see right here, I think it did a pretty good job. But the thing is, you can click this button here and basically refresh the rewrite and come up with a different rewrite. And you can keep doing so until you find the one that works for you. So just keep clicking. And I think that one works pretty well, but you can also revert back to the previous just by clicking that button there. So that lets you quickly compare the rewrite with the original text. And then once you're satisfied, just click on done. And then we can go back and check out some of the other options. So you have the ability to rewrite using a concise voice, so to speak. And then you can easily refresh that as well to bring up different iterations of that concise voice as well for your rewrite. And it's not only concise, but you also have a professional voice, a friendly voice. So for friendly, you can see lots of little exclamation points generally used there. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow. So that's friendly. Let's go ahead and choose professional. And let's see what we have there. So I would appreciate your feedback on these daily tips. Please share your insights in the comments section. So they try to use a little bit bigger, complex words, I guess you could say. But you also have things like summary, which is super cool. So what that does, it will summarize any highlighted text. So you don't have to use that to like replace what you have there. You can replace if you want, but you can also use that summary to your advantage just to get an overall view of what is in the text for your own benefit. And then you can also bring out key points and a bullet list. So that's super easy to digest. And then you can also bring in, let's go back to our Apple Intelligence writing tools. And then you can also bring in a list of items as well. So that's just a quick and easy list to highlight the main key points from this. And you also have that table option as well. And there's multiple ways to invoke the writing tool. So you can actually just right click and then select writing tools and then access your various options directly from this list. So you can quickly click summarize and get a quick summary. And then writing tools are available across the entire OS, not just in Notes. So for instance, if you're in the Messages app, all you do is highlight your text. You'll see the little Apple Intelligence button, and then you just select whatever writing tool you want to use. For instance, I can make the text more concise. And I can also just right click if I want to, and then select writing tools, and then use one of the options there. So make professional in this case. And then just click on done. So just to reiterate, yes, you can access these writing tools anywhere. So in the comment section on 9to5Mac, if I have a comment, I can select my writing tools to make it more friendly or to summarize it. And then I could just replace and then post just like that. Although ChatGPT support is not yet available in this version of macOS Sequoia, you do have access to the new Siri interface, which also includes the type to Siri. So you can just type in there. And you get also the contextual continuation. So you can just continue based on context. It will recognize what you're requesting. So in that case, I could say, what's the weather in Cupertino? What's the weather this week? And it knows I'm still talking about Cupertino without me having to re-specify that. Apple Intelligence also provides smart replies and things like mail and messages. So you can quickly reply and say, sure, or sorry, I'm busy. In the Mail app, it'll actually provide a more in-depth written response for you automatically. Now, this is one of my favorite features, the ability to summarize mail and messages. So you can see the little summary glyph in the preview of each email. So you can see there a little summary. It tells you Raycast discount expires this week. That's a summary of the contents of the email. You can get even more in-depth summaries if you just open the email and then you scroll to the top, you'll see summarize. And that provides a more verbose summary of the contents of the email. So sometimes you get emails, they're all over the place. There's all this information. This will just break it down to the very basics of what's in that email and try to spell it out for you as best as possible. It isn't always perfect, but it can definitely save you some time just to get a high-level overview of the contents of the email without having to go through and read the entire thing. And the cool thing is that these summaries also work for notifications. So here in Notification Center, you can see a summary of my home app notifications, and you see my Messages app notifications, 17 different messages summarized down to a sentence. Super handy. Now, macOS Sequoia includes several productivity enhancements, and that includes the new tiling feature. Now, before macOS Sequoia, of course, you could have like a 2-up display, you could have split view, and basically that was the combination of 2 full screen apps side by side. So here I can have 2 full screen Safari windows, and you can drag between these windows and change the percentage of the layout dedicated to each window, just like that. But the downside to that is that you could only use 2 windows and you didn't have access to your desktop anymore because it's full screen, right? But now you have window tiling built in. So a lot of third-party apps did this before. Now this is built right in. You just hover over the green stoplight and then choose one of the options for move and resize or fill and arrange. So here you have two apps side by side, but you still have access to anything below. It's not a full screen app. It isn't taking up the entire screen. That's important. So you can go side by side. You can go top and bottom, just like this. Let's go and select the bottom one. There we go. So now we have two windows, top and bottom. You can fill. So you can fill the screen, but it isn't a full screen app. You can also arrange automatically side by side. If you have two apps there, you want them side by side. And there are different configurations. So you have that right there. And then you also have the 4-up view. So you have 4 apps side by side by side by side all at once with just one click of a button. But here's the cool thing. If you hold Option, you can change the move and resize and the fill and arrange portions. So here, with fill and arrange, I can actually swap between left and right and left, as you can see there. And if I go to this one, I can basically swap them out just like that. So if you're using tiling, definitely take advantage of the Option key, because that's going to allow you to tile the various windows to any of the 4 corners in this case. So again, super handy feature. Now you can also go to Window and go to move and resize, and you can access any of these directly from this list as well. But the cool thing is that you have keyboard shortcuts. You'll notice those keyboard shortcuts, and you can use that to quickly tile your windows without even having to move your mouse. So let me show you that. So I'm just using a keyboard shortcut, and we're going to move this to the left, move it to the right, up, down, and you can see how fast that goes thanks to those keyboard shortcuts. But folks, that's not the only way to tile your various windows in macOS Sequoia. You can also use a drag gesture, and you can see it will snap that window based on where you drag, just like that. So if I drag this one to the top, it will make it fill the entire window like that. If I drag it to the corner, it'll go in the corner. But you can also hold the Option key and have direct snapping, so you can quickly snap to any of those without actually having to drag all the way to the corner. So that's super handy, just holding that Option key. So window tiling is definitely a welcome feature in macOS Sequoia, one that's been a long time coming. Unfortunately, it's going to Sherlock some applications that have existed for a while, but you know, that's just kind of how Apple does things. Apple tends to integrate some of these low-hanging fruit features that other apps have filled in for, and that's just sort of how the game goes. Now, you may have noticed that you get these margins when you're using tiling, so you can kind of see through to your desktop, and that's cool, I guess. But you can also turn those off if you want to do that. So now you don't see that little space between each of the windows. Personally speaking, the margins have kind of grown on me, and I kind of like that, but it's nice to have the choice. Now, another productivity focused feature is the ability to use background replacements when you're using a video conferencing app like Zoom or FaceTime. So this allows you to replace your background using machine learning. You can use one of these gradient backgrounds, or you can use one of these canned photo backgrounds from Apple Park. Or you can use your own image if you want to do that as well. But I kind of like these little Apple Park images. Those are nice. There's also presenter preview, and this helps you to see what you're sharing when using video conferencing and sharing your screen, whether you're sharing an individual window, multiple windows, or the entire screen. This can be helpful so you know exactly what is being shared. So again, these aren't like groundbreaking features. We've seen these features in other applications, but it's nice to have that integrated directly into macOS Sequoia thanks to this update. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments section. Now let's switch over to continuity. And the big feature here in macOS Sequoia is, of course, iPhone mirroring. So this allows you to access your iPhone apps directly from your Mac's desktop. You even can act on notifications, and your iPhone could be halfway across the room or whatever the case may be, and you can still interact with it. It works just like if you were holding your iPhone. You can interact with it. You can launch apps, go back to your home screen, everything you can do. You can even have your notifications, of course. And now, thanks to iOS 18.1 and macOS 15.1, it even supports drag and drop, which is crazy, right? So it's like having your phone in front of you without having your phone in front of you. So you got to make sure your phone's locked. So I'm going to go ahead and lock my phone, and it's going to connect to my iPhone 16 Pro Max. There you go. So like I said, yes, it's a virtual display, but it feels almost native. You can interact with the dynamic island. You can even use long press gestures with your mouse to open up the dynamic island like that. You can even, install and delete apps. You can swipe between pages. You can launch apps, close apps, open up the app switcher, go back to the home screen. It even plays music and everything directly through your Mac speakers. So it sounds really good. You can actually play music from your Apple Music library from your phone, pipe through to your Mac speakers. Obviously, your Mac speakers are probably going to sound better than your iPhone in most cases. You can, of course, type, do everything you can normally just with your mouse and keyboard, and you can even undo things. So you can Command Z to undo. You can access the various context menus by right-clicking. So here I'm invoking the writing tools within the Notes app, which is running on my iPhone. It's crazy. And here you see ChatGPT because I'm running the iPhone beta in this case. But here's what I wanted to show you. Now you have drag and drop support via iPhone mirroring. So I can drag an image, for instance, from my desktop directly into a note if I want to do that. Super cool. Or I can drag this image directly into that note. But it doesn't just have to be notes. Like I can load up LumaFusion, as you can see. Well, close it out there with the app switcher, but I could load up LumaFusion and I can drag a video directly to LumaFusion from my Mac. It all travels wirelessly, imports it, and then I could drag that directly to the timeline within a LumaFusion project. And I'm hearing all the edits there. Like I'm hearing the timeline play back through my Mac speakers. This is wild to be able to do this and to like run LumaFusion remotely basically on my iPhone and have it play back so smoothly on my Mac. It's kind of crazy how Apple was able to pull this off, because I was skeptical. I have to admit that I didn't think it would work this smoothly the way Craig showed it off at WWDC, but wow, this is really, really good. And I think a lot of people are going to love having iPhone mirroring on their Mac. And then there's iPhone notifications on Mac. So you get all of your notifications. You can even interact with those notifications directly from your Mac. And these are notifications that come from your iPhone, as you can see there. So the apps that are installed on the Mac, obviously you don't get notifications from those, but the notifications sent to iPhone apps will be sent to your Mac, as you can see here, denoted by this little icon. So here I have notifications from X. So I can reply to that notification directly from Notification Center, just like this, and send it back to my iPhone. But notice what happens when I click on an iPhone notification. It opens up in the iPhone mirroring session for the corresponding app. Now, it's been a long time coming, but we finally have a standalone passwords app for the Mac. Now, previously, of course, you had the keychain, and that worked well, but it didn't have its own app interface. Now you have that. This is, of course, built around the keychain. So, of course, you have then you have things like passkeys. You have your security codes for two-factor authentication. So you can see that the generated codes, the time is counting down, and they will be regenerated here in just 1 second. So you can see those regenerate. Then you have your Wi-Fi passwords there. You can share those. Any password security issues will be listed here in this list. And then, of course, you have any passwords that you've deleted. There's also shared groups. So you have family passwords. You can create multiple shared groups. You can share passwords. You can share pass keys, etc. It's pretty cool. But of course, passkeys is sort of the wave of the future. Actually, not even the future, it's the present. I mean, passkeys are everywhere now, and I use them quite a bit. You can actually go ahead and save those passkeys directly to the Passwords app, of course, and you can even share those from the Passwords app. The nice thing I like about this, though, is that there is a corresponding menu bar helper. So you just enable this within the preferences, or the settings as they call it. And then up in the menu bar, you're going to find the little password icon. You just click on that, and then you can use Touch ID to unlock or enter your password. There you're going to see your most recent passwords that you've interacted with. You can search, add new passwords, open the full app. But let's click on GitHub, since that's something I used recently with the passkey. You can see the username, the passkey when it was created, and then the website. You can, of course, copy your username, copy your password if it's a password, just like that. Now let's go and open up Safari. Let me show you how the Password app interacts with Safari. So I'm using a passkey, just use Touch ID, and it signs you in just like that. Could not be easier. Definitely a long time coming, but we're happy it's here. Now the calculator also gets some nice quality of life upgrades. For instance, you have built-in unit conversions that make this super easy to convert things like euros to US dollars or acres to feet or whatever the case may be. You can do that. All you need to do is just click the drop down arrow and then you can choose all these various categories. You can even search the units if you want to. So I'm going to convert acres to square miles. So 640 acres equals 1 square mile. Let's go ahead and choose a different type of measurement. So we'll just click here and then we'll choose US dollars. You could just, like I said, use the search, which makes it super easy, USD, and then just click there. And then euros is there. So we can just put in how many dollars? $1 equals 0.93 euros. But here's something that I've always struggled with as someone who's lived in the US all his life. The whole Fahrenheit to Celsius sort of thing. This makes it super easy to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius and vice versa. So 70 degrees Fahrenheit equals 21 degrees Celsius. And if I flip it like this, then 70 degrees Celsius equals 158 degrees Fahrenheit. I know all of our European friends are probably just pointing and laughing right now, but let's go up to view. Let me show you another feature. So you have history now. This is something that we've needed for a very long time, being able to have the history of your calculations right there so you can easily recall them. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted that in the past. Now we finally have it. And if you go to the scientific calculator, here's something that I really appreciate. You have the ability to view complete expressions, so it won't try to solve for the expression immediately. It actually will allow you to go in and create full-on expressions and then solve. So it gives you a much better context as to what's going on compared to how it used to be. And there's, of course, math notes. We'll talk about that in a bit. Let's talk about Freeform first of all. So there's a new feature called Scenes. And if you're a Freeform fan like I am, you probably can't tell because I only have a couple of boards out there, but I do love this app. It is super handy. I've used it quite a bit in the past. What Scenes does is it basically creates a sort of like a map around the board so that you can easily jump between different locations or scenes in this case. So you can name this particular area on the map. I'll call it videos. And then the benefit is that if you place a object or multiple objects in another location far away from that first initial scene, previously you would have to kind of like either scroll all the way out, either zoom all the way out rather, or you would have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll until you found the other group of objects. But now with scenes, you can assign each group of objects to a scene or each area on the board to a scene. And that way you can quickly jump between those without having to scroll like I'm doing here. See, if I wanted to find that other one, I'm scrolling, right? And if I want to find the one above that, I'm scrolling and scrolling. And sometimes it's just hard to find. There we go. There we go. So with scenes though, you can quickly jump between those just like this. So click that, jump between audio, go to photos, and then go to videos. So that makes it much simpler. Now, there's also grid snapping. So you see those little dots, you can enable or disable those dots, but now you can actually enable snapping for that particular grid. Because previously it would snap to objects, but now you can snap to the grid, which makes it so much easier to sort of orient everything and get everything super organized. That is another key feature that I appreciate about the Freeform Sequoia update. And now there's easy panning. So if you hold this space bar, you can quickly pan around your board, which is helpful for moving around objects that are close to one another. But I would definitely stick to using scenes when jumping long distances. And then there's improved diagramming. So you have more connection point capabilities for diagramming and for connecting one object to one or more other objects. And you'll enjoy many more connection points that just give you much more flexibility when it comes to connecting your various objects on your board. So those are the new additions to Freeform. Let's talk about the Notes app. So you get live audio transcription now. Watch this. So today Apple released iOS 18.1, and it comes with tons of new features related to Apple Intelligence. For instance, you get the new Siri interface, and it looks great. So you can see also get the ability to have the live transcription for things like messages, notifications, really all notifications when grouped will display an AI-based summary. You also get summaries for email, etc. It is a jam-packed update, not to mention there's phone call recording and more. So that is a pretty cool new feature there. Not only being able to record, but getting the summary. So you can just click that and it will give you a AI-based summary thanks to Apple Intelligence.
It's related to Apple Intelligence.
But not just that.
You get the new Siri interface and it looks great.
You can actually click.
You also get the ability to have, you also get summaries for email.
Right there on the transcription to jump between those various areas
phone call recording
of the recording. And also notice on the main notes, you get the summary preview as well. So Math Notes allows you to perform mathematic expressions right within a note. And the cool thing is that it supports variables as well. So I'm going to create a couple of variables. Cat equals 50, dog equals 2. How about that? And then I could just say cat divided by dog equals, and it automatically solves for it, 25, right? If you click on the value, you can actually adjust those values and you'll notice that the resulting answer is updated in real time. Just like that. Super cool. So I can do for either variable, cat or dog. So you can see me just dragging my mouse cursor. And if I do the same for dog, drag left or right to increase or decrease values. So I can see this coming in really handy if you have a very complex expression and you want to, key in different values and just see how that changes the final answer. Now, of course, you don't have to use variables, so I could just say like 40 times 2, and then I press equals on my keyboard, and it automatically will suggest the answer there. But if you want to, you can go to Format, Math Results, and choose Insert. So instead of suggesting when you do 4 times 2, it automatically inserts the answer for you, just like that. Now, there's also collapsible sections within Notes. So if I type animals as this section and make it a heading, and I'll just use Command Shift H to make it a heading. Now you can collapse that heading, but I'm going to make one more. I'm going to call this other, and then Command Shift H to make that a heading. Now you can collapse it using the disclosure triangle, and that can help you really clean up an unwieldy note if you have a whole bunch of stuff there. And there's also highlighting. So if you select some text and click the formatting button and then choose the highlighter or the color, you can choose the color and highlight your text just like that. So I'm going to do the same here. Click the highlighter, or I can just click a color and it will highlight that text. So these features really do make the Notes app that much more powerful and just overall flexible to be able to accommodate all sorts of different workflows. I really like this update in macOS Sequoia. And speaking of updates I love, the calendar and the reminders app have sort of merged, if you will, not really, but now you can create reminders directly within the calendar. So I just click new reminder and I could type out the title. But if I don't want it to be a reminder, say I want it to be an event, I can quickly switch over to event. But then I can go back to a reminder, say, hey, I actually want this to be a reminder. You can adjust all the parameters there. You can even choose the specific list for the reminders. So any specific list you have in the reminders app, you can choose from them there. And you can complete this reminder directly from the calendar. Just click like that and that reminder is completed. So let me show you how this works in concert with the reminders app. So have both of them side by side. So you can see walk the dog. If I complete, you can see that reminder goes away in the reminders app. But if I undo the completion, you can see it comes back. And the nice thing is I can alter this either in the reminders app or via calendars. Doesn't matter which one. But they're both going to stay in sync. They're both going to reflect the latest and greatest. So that is a super handy feature. And of course, you can create a new reminder within the reminders app, and that too will reflect within calendar. So let's do that right now. I'm just going to type in car maintenance and I'll add a date and a time. So date, let's make that tomorrow, and let's go ahead and add a time. So we'll just say noon. How about that? And now you're going to see that automatically appear over at the right date and the right time in the calendar app. That is such a game changer. And I think it's going to make people's lives a lot easier juggling reminders and juggling events. It used to be kind of a pain. Now that is no longer the case. And if you want to, in the calendar, you can go in and select to hide or show those scheduled reminders if you don't plan on using that feature, but I definitely highly recommend it. Now, the Safari app gets several noteworthy changes, starting with highlights. So you click the reader button, you see a little highlight indicator there. And then highlights will basically show you details about what you're looking at. So you get the summary of Johnny Ive in this case. You see some of his work history below that. And if you view the new reader, this is a new redesigned reader. It comes with a summary at the top. So that's AI based. And you also get a table of contents. You can quickly jump to various sections around the information within the reader view. And there is a new video viewer feature within macOS Sequoia. So if you are on a video, notice here, you don't see the video viewer because I'm not playing a video, but when it recognizes the video is playing, you'll see the new video viewer icon. And if you click the reader, you're going to see the video viewer option. You just click that and it gives you sort of a full screen, distraction-free video view, devoid of all the branding and everything else that normally appears on top of these embeds. This is just a nice, clean way to watch a video distraction-free in macOS Sequoia. And the Messages app gets some really cool stuff. So you get tap back with any emoji. So you can right-click, select tap back, click on the emoji picker, and then you could choose any emoji or sticker for that matter. And that's a huge upgrade over the half dozen tap back options we used to have. Yeah, you could definitely add some variety to your tap backs now. And there's also new text effects. So when you're typing your text, if you highlight and right click that text, you're going to see text effects at the top. So you have big, small, shake, nod, explode, ripple, bloom, jitter. So here's what explode looks like. So let's go ahead and send that. So you can see that's what the recipient will see. And now let's try it again, but this time we're going to choose a different effect. Let's do jitter this time. So these are quite a few effects. Right click, text effects. Yeah, let's do jitter. All right, so let's go ahead and you can see it sort of shaking there. It's like a little nervous thing going on. And there's also formatting, so you can format with bold or underline or strike through or italics. And you could do that on a word by word basis, or I guess a character by character basis if you want to. And that's nice. So let's go ahead and submit that. Just giving much more variety to your conversations. Here's another feature that is extremely handy, one we've been wanting for a long time, the ability to schedule messages to send later. So I'm just going to say, I want this to send later today. Then you just click the little plus button here, you choose send later, and then you're going to see this interface. You can choose the date and the time, and then you just send your message. You can see the little outline indicates that it is a send later message. You can continue to send messages here using that time, or you can adjust the time just like this. I'll just put in 10 a.m., send another message. And then once I want to stop using send later, just click the little X, and then the messages sent thereafter will be sent immediately. So ladies and gentlemen, that has been a look at macOS Sequoia. It is jam-packed with tons of new changes and features headlined by Apple Intelligence. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thumbs up if you appreciate this video, and be sure to subscribe for more. Special thanks to Mac Stadium for sponsoring 9 to 5 Mac. Orchid Desktop is a free Apple Silicon virtualization program that allows you to easily create and manage macOS virtual machines locally. It's the best modern Apple app development solution for DevOps and developers. And it includes support for Apple's latest OS, macOS 15 Sequoia. Create and manage macOS virtual machines locally with an easy-to-use GUI. Simply set your display resolution settings, choose your OS, and launch your VM. It's that simple. And with Orchid Desktop, there are no subscriptions, trial periods, or sneaky fees. Click the link in the description to download Orchid Desktop today.